Picture this. You wake up tomorrow morning, ready to tackle the day, and boom, you find out your car needs a $1,500 repair just to get you to work. Or maybe you walk down into your basement and realize your water heater is completely busted. Or even worse, you get called into the boss's office, you lose your job, and just like that, your next paycheck disappears. Would you be able to handle that without swiping a credit card, taking out a crazy high-interest loan, or begging someone for cash? Look, if the answer is no, you're definitely not alone. But that exact sinking feeling of dread, that is exactly why building a financial safety net is one of the absolute most vital things you can do for your future. Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to build your emergency fund blueprint from the ground up.
Here's our step-by-step blueprint for today. 1. Your financial safety net. 2. Calculating your target number. 3. Automating your savings habit. 4. Where to keep it. And finally, number 5. What counts in an emergency?
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. Your financial safety net.
So what is this thing exactly? Well, an emergency fund is simply money you set aside specifically for unexpected and necessary expenses. Think of it as your own personal financial shock absorber. Now, we've got to be brutally honest with ourselves right out of the gate here. This is not money for a weekend getaway, it's not for upgrading your phone, and it's for sure not a slush fund for those front row concert tickets you feel like you urgently need. It is there exclusively for situations you didn't plan for but absolutely have to pay for. We're talking sudden medical bills, a blown transmission, an unexpected roof repair, or a job loss. Things that literally cannot wait. Because the goal of this fund isn't to make you rich. The goal is to stop one piece of bad luck from spiraling into a totally devastating financial crisis.
Section 2. Calculating your target number. Now, what's really interesting about this is figuring out exactly how much cash you actually need.
You might be surprised to learn that when financial experts tell you to save 3 to 6 months of expenses, they are strictly talking about bare-bones survival, not your total income, and definitely not your normal lifestyle spending. Let's look at this visual breakdown for a second. We've got $1,500 for rent or a mortgage, $400 for groceries, $300 for transportation, $200 for utilities, and maybe $100 for insurance and other absolute necessities. If you add up just those essential slices of the pie, the total is $2,500 a month. That right there is your baseline survival number. You've got to completely separate these from things you could temporarily cut, like streaming subscriptions or eating out.
So, doing the math, if your baseline is $2,500, a 3-month safety net would be $7,500. And if you multiply it out to 6 months, you get $15,000. I know. Seeing a massive number like $15,000 can make your stomach drop, especially if you're currently starting with exactly $0 saved. And sure, if your income is super unpredictable, or you're self-employed, or you have kids, you might actually want an even bigger cushion than that. But seriously, do not let this end goal paralyze you. Let's look at how this builds, because your first goal absolutely does not have to be $15,000. The way you actually win at this is by starting with a highly achievable, bite-sized milestone. Your very first target, it could be just $500 or $1,000. Once you hit that first milestone, you'll feel that momentum, right? Then you work toward 1 full month of expenses. In our example here, $2,500. After that, you level up to the 3-month mark of $7,500. By breaking that massive, scary number into these visual stepping stones, you're taking what feels like an impossible mountain and turning it into a very manageable checklist.
Section 3. Automating your savings habit.
The next step in our blueprint is honestly one of the easiest and most powerful hacks in all of personal finance: automating your savings. Instead of waiting until the end of the month to see what cash is magically left over, because let's be real, there usually isn't much, you decide how much you want to save up front and you put it on autopilot. For example, if you get paid every 2 weeks and you set up an automatic transfer of just $100 from each paycheck straight into your emergency fund, that's about $200 a month. That's roughly $2,400 a year without even thinking about it. Consistency is totally the key here. Saving $50 every single paycheck quietly and automatically is infinitely better than swearing you're going to save $500 at the end of the month and, well, never actually doing it. You don't have to overhaul your whole life overnight. And hey, you can always turbocharge this by tossing in parts of a tax refund, a bonus, cash gifts, or just eating at home a bit more to boost that automated number.
Section 4. Where to keep it. Okay, this part is incredibly important to understand. Your emergency fund is not an investment account. You absolutely, under no circumstances, want to wake up and realize your safety net dropped by 20% in the stock market on the exact same day you lost your job. No way! Instead, your account has to meet 3 non-negotiable rules. It must be safe, it must be easily accessible, and it must be completely separate from your everyday checking account. For most of us, a high-yield savings account is a fantastic spot for this. Remember, the purpose of this cash isn't to score massive investment returns. Its only job is to be sitting there, ready to go, the absolute second disaster strikes. Plus, keeping it in a totally separate account out of sight cuts down on the temptation to casually swipe your debit card for everyday stuff. You want to mentally and maybe even physically label this account only break glass in case of emergency.
Which brings us to Section 5. What counts as an emergency? So before you ever transfer a single dime out of that emergency fund, you have to run it through this specific 3-part litmus test. Ask yourself, is the expense unexpected? Is it necessary? And is it urgent? If it doesn't get a resounding yes to all 3 of those, the glass stays completely intact. You don't touch the money.
To make this crystal clear, let's look at the difference. A major car repair when you absolutely have to have that car to get to work? Yep, that passes the test. A broken water heater flooding your basement? Super urgent, definitely necessary. A sudden job loss? Absolutely. Now let's flip it around. Finding dirt cheap last-minute flights for a vacation? Awesome, but not an emergency. Upgrading to the newest phone because yours is acting a little glitchy? Not an emergency. A spontaneous shopping spree? Definitely not. But here's a really crucial reminder. If you do get hit with a true emergency from column 1 and you have to use that money, that is not a failure. That is exactly what this entire system was built to do. It did its job. The only thing you have to do next is just restart those automated transfers to build the fund back up after the storm passes.
Section 6, the action plan. Let's pull this all together. So the crucial point is following these 4 simple steps starting today. Step 1, look at your budget and calculate your bare essentials, just the absolute necessities to keep the lights on and food on the table. Step 2, completely forget about that massive $15,000 end goal for now and pick a small, highly achievable initial milestone, like $500. Step 3, set up an automatic transfer from your checking account for every single time you get paid. Set it and forget it. And step 4, make sure those automated transfers are landing in a safe, accessible, and totally separate high-yield savings account. It really is that straightforward, guys. An emergency fund is not built in a weekend. It's built paycheck by paycheck.
I want to leave you with this thought, because it brilliantly captures the whole psychology behind this. Having money set aside can turn a financial emergency into nothing more than an inconvenience. This whole process, it isn't about walking around expecting the sky to fall. It's entirely about having the financial armor ready if it does. When life inevitably throws that curveball at you, having this cash buffer buys you peace of mind. It stops you from sliding into toxic debt, and it keeps your long-term goals safely on track.
Your future self is going to be incredibly thankful you took the time to put this blueprint into action. Forget about month 6 right now. Just focus on your first $100, then your first $500, then your first $1,000. So I have to ask you, what will your first $100 milestone look like? And exactly which day are you going to automate that very first transfer? The clock is ticking and your financial safety net is just waiting to be built. Get started today.